Hey, it's Kaero. Welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited. Today we are doing another deck generated by Urzas A.I. So all these cards, none of them exist in their form. Some of them might be named the same as current cards, but they are not the same. So we're going to be generating and rating them on the fly. This is a Dimir deck, so I put in blue and black, and I put the creativity about 3/4 of the way up. So let's get into it. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing for future episodes. Let's go. First card we have is Bident of Thassa. 2 generic for an artifact creature or golem, 1/2. Not much to see here. Flavor text is its customizability is in part determined by how deeply its ancient shape holds you in its grasp. Kind of threatening. I guess it holds you tightly and you can customize it more. If it holds you loosely, it doesn't. Whatever. It's a 2 mana 1/2. Nothing really to see here. Utopia. 2 generic mana for an artifact creature, Gorgon. 3/3. Pretty good power for 2 mana. 2 blue, 1 generic. Target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards. So it's 2/2, 3/3 that loots. That's not really that bad. Especially if this deck ends up being a little bit more controlling. This is a nice blocker on turn 2. And then being able to loot later is fine. Flavor text is, in one lifetime, only one madman dared cross the limits of reality. And then he got to the Utopia. So was he really a madman? I don't think so. That card is good. I like it. Moving on, Orchard Scarecrow. These are all, I guess all the artifact creatures are first. 2 generic for a 2/1. Oops. Not really in the frame here. 2 generic for a 2/1. Come on, cooperate with me. There we go. For a 2/1 artifact creature, Scarecrow, it is flying, and you can tap it to add 1 red mana, which is odd because this is a Dimir deck. But I guess if you're wanting to do like some Grixis stuff, this is cool. I mean, getting 2 damage in with a flyer early for 2 mana is not bad. I would play that card. Cyclanch, Cyclanch Projector, 2 generic for thopter, star 2. Flying. Cyclanch Projector's powers equal to the number of creatures you control. This deck is looking pretty aggressive, if I do say so myself, so far. So this is automatically a 1/2 because it counts itself. If you have a couple more creatures, this can get out of control pretty quickly. Flavor text is, not many are as dependent on mechanics as cast engineers. Okay. Mancher Shroud. 2 mana. Artifact creature, wall, 0/6 defender. 1 generic mana, and then there's nothing in the boxes for what type of mana. So we're going to say, benefit of the doubt, 3 generic mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. This has a lot of toughness. If you're a pure control deck, this could be a good blocker on turn 2, but I don't think this deck is, because we've seen some aggressive creatures. I like that it literally is just a like foam wall that you would see in like some sort of kids gymnasium or something. That's cool. Yeah, not super impressed with it. Moaning Gargoyle. 2 generic mana for a 1/1. Pay 1. Gargoyle creatures you control get +1/+1, gain lifelink until end of turn. This would be in Gargoyle Tribal. I'm not sure that Gargoyle Tribal exists anywhere in any format in Magic. I don't think that there are enough gargoyles, but yeah, that seems pretty horrible for this deck unless we get like stacks of gargoyles as we go. What's the flavor? In every wall, an alley, a hole, and an escape route he can see. All right. I haven't been reading all the flavor text to these. Let me go back. What's the Mancher Shroud flavor text? Even without fortification, his enemies had to endure an excruciating procession of groans, gibberish, and cackles. Okay. Gross. Next up is Arcanus Cluestone, 2 generic for a 2/2 thopter. Arcanus Cluestone has protection from red, from green, from blue, from black, from planeswalkers, from all creatures, and from the green-white degenerate swamps 1/1 green creature token. So it has protection from all colors except for white, and from the green-white degenerate swamps 1/1 green creature token. Okay, so if your opponent has a card that turns a green-white swamp into a green-white degenerate creature. It has protection from that too, just in case you were wondering. Oddly enough, does not have flying. So it's a ground-based thopter that just kind of like spins on wheels and goes. Yeah, pretty nasty card though, because your opponent, if they're playing red, if they're playing anything without white in it, it has protection from all that stuff. Except for I guess board wipes, because board wipes don't target it. It has protection from all creatures too, so it's unblockable. It can block and not take damage. That's that's a busted card. Omnath, Locus of Rage. That's not the way I remember Omnath looking. 2 generic mana for a shapeshifter. 2/1. When you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Omnath, Locus of Rage deal damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. Ah, pretty nasty. 2 mana. Play this on turn 2, and then all of your non-creature spells that you play from now on, including counter spells and any permission stuff, just get to deal damage to any target, not just creatures. This Omnath Locus of Rage is nice. Quite full of rage, if I do say so myself. Flavor text is Omnath knew his foes by face, as he had the faces of his soldiers. That's creepy art. Omnath is like, Omnath, you're getting weird, dude. Getting weird, but I like it. Skursdog. 4 generic. For 2/2 vigilance, when Skursdog enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1, gains flying till end of turn. Not great. This is like a limited card. This not see constructed play. It's too expensive. Each scavenger stows its burdens on its head, never to be seen again. Nah, Skursdog, I'm not into it. Meloku. 4 generic for a 4/3 Island Walk. Okay, been a while since I've seen some land walking abilities. And 1 blue, 3 generic, deals 1 damage to target creature. So a sideboard card if you're playing against a blue deck, basically. Other than that, well, I don't know. It's still on its own. On its face is a 4 mana 4/3. So I guess it's not a horrible creature, but the ability to ping something is very expensive. I think it's just middle of the road. The flavor is the loose hang lineage used their arts to improve the materials of their masterpieces. Eldrazi Avenger. And it's colorless, so it's in the flavor. 4 mana for an artifact creature bird. It's a 4/4 fly. Oh, Eldrazi Avenger can't attack or block alone. What do we think about this? So if this is your only creature out, it can't do anything. And it doesn't have any abilities where you can, doesn't have any like mana sink abilities that make it worthwhile. It's only good if another creature is attacking or blocking with it. That being said, it's not going to have too hard of a problem blocking. All you need is another creature. Attacking is where you get into an issue, because if you have a smaller creature and you're attacking into something on the ground, like a land-based non-flying creature, you attack with that. You don't always want to do that. So is it worth attacking with your other creatures to make this be able to? It's very good for 4 mana in terms of power and toughness. I guess if you have like little death touchers, that would be not bad. Eldrazi Avenger. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. That's an interesting card. The flavor text is, in exchange for sacrificing an artifact, he serves as both vessel and talisman. I love when the flavor texts sort of like get into rules text, so like it's referencing sacrificing an artifact here. It's really cool. Let me know what you think about Eldrazi Avenger. Cobra Throne, 4 generic mana for an artifact creature, Gorgon. It's a 3/3 haste. As Cobra Throne enters the battlefield, you may exile any number of other target cards from your graveyard. When Cobra Throne leaves the battlefield, put the exile cards into their owner's graveyard. And for black, 2 generic, sacrifice Cobra Throne, destroy target artifact or enchantment. What do you think about this? So basically, I guess if you are doing some sort of graveyard shenanigans, but your opponent has some graveyard hate stuff, and you want to protect your graveyard, you can exile all those cards, put it under Cobra Throne, and then whenever it leaves the battlefield, you can put them all back in your owner's graveyard when you're ready to use like your reanimate spell on it or something. doesn't seem. I'm having a hard time figuring out the value on this card, like why you would want to do that. Maybe you have cards that say that pay you off whenever a card leaves your graveyard. X happens. You can slam Cobra Throne down, and then you can trigger that 8 times or whatever, however many things are in your graveyard, and then send them all back to do it again. And then what's kind of cool about it is if you want to take the cards out of your graveyard and then return them, it has its own built-in sacrifice outlet for itself to get rid of an artifact or enchantment. So, I don't know, kind of cool. It's very situational. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not sure it works with this deck, but I'm sure there's situations that you're watching this video and you're like, that would be perfect for this. So I want to know about that. I want to learn what it is. Pelucranos, World Eater. Black 3 generic. It's a rare 3/3 for 4 mana. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player chooses a card name. Then Pelucranos deals X damage to each creature that player controls. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. Let me wrap my head around this. So we choose a card name, each player's upkeep, then deals X damage to each creature that player controls, but we don't know what X is. So it never specifies to us what X is. I am assuming that if we look at this pragmatically, we give it the benefit of the doubt. It's saying that player chooses a card name and then it's X damage based on like the mana value of that card. So given, if we assume that that's the case, or that's what the AI was trying to do, is this good? Because they can choose a card name. It doesn't even have to be something in their hand. So you can choose Emrakul, deal 15 damage to each creature, or they can choose, they get to choose it also. This is bizarre. I don't think this is good because they can choose it, they can use it to their advantage, you can use it to your advantage. I guess if you're playing a deck with 0 creatures and they have a bunch of creatures, that stops them, like if you're playing against an aggro deck, stops them from being able to, I don't know. Can't process it. Let me know in the comments. Flavor text is, in every cave, tunnel, and cave network, something terrible awaits. That does look pretty terrible. Not gonna lie. There's a lot of like swamp art in here. I think it's because I named the deck Underground River after the dual land, so maybe it's pulling a lot of stuff from that. Bladed Brute. 2 black, 2 generic for a 3/2 vampire soldier. As an additional cost to cast this spell, reveal a creature card in your hand. If you don't reveal it this way, draw a card. And it has Mentor. But wait, but Mentor's different. Whenever this creature attacks, exile it if it's attacking a creature you control. When the creature returns, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I don't think you can attack a creature that you control, so we're going to disregard this Mentor ability. I just don't think that's possible. But as an additional cost to cast the spell, reveal a creature card. If you don't, draw a card. So essentially, you don't want to reveal the creature and you draw a card. So it's a 4 mana 3/2 that draws you a card, is what this card is. Pretty good. I like it. I think it's pretty good. Bladed Brute. That was a really roundabout way of saying it, though. The flavor text is a threat against those he guards. That's funny because that flavor text really aligns with this Mentor ability, because it's saying something about him attacking creatures that the player controls, so allied creatures. So he really is a threat against those he guards if that was able to happen. So I really like that flavor text. That's really cool. Arboreal Sludge Boar. 2 black, 2 generic for an ooze. 5/4 for 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice Arboreal Sludge Boar. If you do, draw a card. Okay, that's actually not bad. That's quite a bit of power for 4 mana. I wish it did a little bit more, or at least I wish it had the text of tap it, sacrifice Arboreal Sludge Boar, and draw a card, because then that gets you, like, they try to remove it and then you sacrifice it in return. It has to be at the beginning of your upkeep, which I really don't like. I think the card's decent. It's not blowing my mind, but it is a lot of power in black for 4 mana. Flavor is he serves, he works, and at times he must give of himself for the good of all. That's cool too, because Arboreal Sludge Boar, think of himself as he's serving the Planeswalker, he's working, and at times he gives of himself for the good of all. Meaning at the start of your upkeep, you can sacrifice him and he's giving of himself. That really lines up. The AI did a great job with the flavor text there. All right, now we're getting into the blue cards. Cold Hands, 1 blue. Sorcery, exile Cold Hands. Search your library for a Plains card. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Okay. Why does it say exile Cold Hands? I guess you exile it because you don't want to. They don't want you to be able to replay it from the graveyard. It's a blue mana that at sorcery speed goes and gets a Plains and puts it into your hand. Weird in this deck. It has a disturbingly literal sense of propriety. This card is actually very literal, so that's fitting. I like that the art seems to depict like an underground river, like we said, with a bunch of giant cold hands coming out of it. So it's literal. It is very literal. That's really meta. That the cold hands card is literally just hands that are cold coming out of a river. Wow. Agadeem's Charm. 1 blue, sorcery, kicker of a blue and 3 generic. Create a 1/1 blue elf warrior creature token. So it's 1 blue to create a token. The kicker, you can pay it, but it doesn't do anything. Flavor text is the adventurers lived to tell their tales, but there was another story that might have captured their imaginations. And Agadeem hoped to change that. Alright, not much to see here. Just create a 1/1. It's weird that it's a blue elf. I think it would be like a merfolk or something like that. Or zombie, maybe? Wizard? Lightless Sky March, 1 blue, sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if it's green, it gains indestructible until end of turn. Sorcery speed, that's not very good. If that was instant, that would be pretty cool. Sort of in the realm of Snakeskin Veil without the hexproof. But only if it's green. So this is a weird card to be in the Dimir deck. Obviously, if we're judging it based on its usefulness in this deck, it's really, really bad. But generally speaking, it's still pretty bad because it needs to be instant. Flavor is a portal opens in the Sky March, the Zendikar Flare the Beast's Passage. Gateway, 1 blue, 3 generic. Sorcery, choose 1. Destroy target artifact or draw 2 cards. Not good in a constructed deck. Fine for limited. I like that there's 2 modes on it. So you can destroy an artifact, but it should be instant speed or it should cost 3 mana. That's my take on it. Flavor text is the Simic Confederation calls on its devices to speed through time. I do like that it's referencing Simic here, and we do have some lush greenery in the art. Looks like maybe that's a boat in the middle. So it is kind of cool that it's referencing Simic, but it is in a Dimir deck, which is odd. Spring of Reconstruction. 1 blue, 3 generic for a sorcery. Return up to 3 target artifacts and or enchantments to their owner's hand. Typically, I don't like cards like this. The multiple bounce thing. I'd rather have a cheap spell that bounces 1 thing, or at the maximum, pay 2 or 3 mana to bounce 2 things, or have modes on it that you can kick it and do extra. Because this is a dead card in your hand. If they only have one, like say they have one big, this doesn't even do creatures. So this is actually really bad. But let's say this did creatures. They only have one big creature, then you're paying 4 to bounce, and it's really inefficient. It's only good even if it did creatures against like token decks. Yeah, this card's not very good. Flavor is the Jinn prized it for its golden paving. Fish Reach Regulators. 1 blue, 3 generic. Sorcery. Up to 2 target creatures can't be blocked this turn. Same thing. Basically, ditto for the last card. Not very good. Not everything has a voice. Most do, is the flavor text. Most things, so at least 51% of things that exist have voices, right? Or 50.1%, but not everything, just most. Ben's Hand to Lena is who said that. Beacon of Unrest. I love that card's name. That's really cool. 1 blue, 3 generic for a sorcery. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards. You may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. You think about this for 4 mana. Draw 3, discard 2, so you get a net card advantage of 1 for 4 mana. Then you can put a land, so it ramps you as well. Kind of expensive, though. I think it needs to be 1 mana cheaper. But I can see in this situation, this would be kind of cool. I would think Simic would care about this more, about the ramp. What do you think about this card? Is this a good card? I think it might be a little overcosted. What if it costs 3? Sorcery speed also. So you have to do this on your turn. You can't just do this if your opponent doesn't play anything in a control deck. Is it worth burning out your turn 4 for 1 additional card and putting a land onto the battlefield? What if you don't have any lands in your hand? I guess it's decent. What's the flavor? When Emrakul invaded Argoth, no one stood against her. She carved her path through Argoth with impunity, sending screams and horrors down the rivers and through the clouds. That seems right. Emrakul does that. Lots of screams. Yeah, let me know what you think about Beacon of Unrest. I think it's decent. I think it would be really good if it cost less. Next one is Quest for Eldrazi with a capital D. 1 black, 3 generic and sorcery. Create X tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, where X is the number of times you've cast this spell this turn. So my initial thought with this would be copy it a bunch of times with like, I guess with Storm or something, but it doesn't have Storm. Not super familiar with Storm, but that would be like the only way to get value out of this, because as it stands right now, it's 4 mana for 1/2/2 black zombie that comes in tapped at sorcery speed. I guess if you could find a way to storm this, but even so, it says the number of times you've cast this spell. So if you copy this spell a bunch of times, that's not going to work because you're not casting it. It would have to say specifically like cast. I don't know. I don't even know if storm would work. What's the flavor? Have you taken leave of your senses? Kadath Prowler. I have taken leave of my senses, I think. There are a lot of cards that are hard for me to judge in this one, and my senses have gone. Eternal Epiphany. 1 black, 3 generic for sorcery. Draw a card, then you may return Eternal Epiphany from your graveyard to your hand. If you do, you gain 3 life. 4 mana, draw a card, put it back in your hand, gain 3 life. 4 mana, draw a card, gain 3 life, stays in your hand. So this is for a control deck that basically wants to just keep doing this. If you can do this and copy the spell or find a way to make it cheaper, that would be actually really cool. Reduce the cost of this by down to 2 mana and then just do this like 2 or 3 times a turn. Then you're at a good rate. You're drawing 2 or 3 cards for 6 mana, gaining 9 life or something. This could be actually really busted if you find a way to reduce the cost on it. Still okay for 4 mana, I guess, with the life gain on there and then getting it back into your hand. The flavor text is, the magical energies it embodied lasted until one brave, troubled mind entered its sphere of influence and ended its mysterious legacy. Traverse the Ether. 1 blue, 1 generic for an instant. Draw 2 cards, discard a card. Okay, not bad. It's cheap, allows you to search for answers, gives you 1 card. Flavor text is, the artifact army rushed forward through the white void. They chanted, casting arcane spells into the corridor, and emerged in the underworld. That seems to fit Traverse the Ether. It fits the art too. So they're going through the white void, whatever that is, and then emerged in the underworld. It seems to depict the underworld. That's cool. Surge of the Llanowar. 1 blue, 1 generic for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn. And you can flash it back for 4. Nope. Not doing it for me. 2 mana to give 1 power, flash it back at 4. Nope. Not good. Flavor is those who dwell among the caves yearn to sail to distant lands. I think this card should sail to distant lands away from my sight, not into it. Vital Force. 1 black, 1 generic. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Okay, not in this deck. Flavor is the Andex were ruled by powerful but lethal instinct. Good thumbs down for me. Impending Doom. 1 black, 1 generic for an instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains flying till end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste until end of turn. So, it's a cheap instant. You play a big beater on turn 4 or 5. You have to have 2 more mana, but you can give it +2/+0 flying and haste until end of turn. You can also untap it, meaning that you can use this defensively. If you attack with a creature and then somebody thinks that they can get a free swing back on you, you can play this, untap it. The haste won't matter, but the flying +2/+0 could matter. I think this is a pretty good combat trick. I like this. It can be used offensively. If you have extra mana when you play a big creature, you can use it then. You can use it defensively. I like Impending Doom a lot. What's the flavor text? When at hand, Sylvok were all hunger, but death sharpened them. Okay. Mind Pouch. All right. 1 black, 1 generic for instant. Prevent the next 4 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn. Draw a card. So it's a cantrip for 2 mana preventing damage. This could keep you alive. But if you don't have a board state to threaten, so this is good at parity when you're racing in aggro decks. But even if this does keep you alive, if they have an overwhelming board state, it doesn't help you really when you're behind. And it doesn't really help you when you're ahead too much. I don't think it's very good. I do like that it draws you a card. Typically, we would never want to use this card. But you could also save one of your creatures from removal with it. So it could be like a hexproof indestructible, sort of. I don't know if this card's good. I want to say it's probably not as good as having a indestructible or hexproof thing. Maybe it's better than that though, because it could prevent damage to you. Yeah, I guess it's pretty decent. I guess it's a decent card. It could also be used as a combat trick if you're getting ready to trade with a creature. I guess it's good. I guess it is good, Mind Pouch. The fact that it replaces itself really helps. I am grappling with this. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's crazy good. I think it's good. Flavor text is when a Chroma felt alone and betrayed, she resolved to bring down the wrath of Eon, even if she herself would perish in the attempt. Wow, I've never seen a card and immediately been like, that's not very good at all. And then within the frame of like 20 seconds, I was like, it's good. Weird. Wind Sculpture, 2 blue, instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, return a land you control to its owner's hand. So this is only good if you want to return a land to your hand. Say you have a multi-faced modal spell land, and you just want to get it back to your hand, but that's literally the only thing it does. And it says as an additional cost to cast this, it should just be 2 blue, return a land you control to its owner's hand. What would be really awesome about this card, I think, is if it returned target land to the player's hand. So you could just bounce one of their lands. That would be awesome. But that's not what it does. Flavor is wind rises off a distant island, catching a shaft of light from the sea, tracing out its circuit. Seize the wind, 2 blue. Instant. You gain life equal to the highest mana value among all permanents you control. That's weird for blue. That is a white spell, but it's 2 blue. It's not just blue, it's 2 blue. Were you interested in gaining life? No. I think Mind Pouch is better than this. Haha. Now, we have a card that's worse than Mind Pouch right here. Flavor is a bolt from above, carries those in its path far away. I don't think that it really has a home in this deck, and I think that it also is not very good. Next up, we have Recurring Past. 2 generic for an artifact. Ability, 2 generic, tap it. Tap target permanent you control. Only if we have things that allow us to untap and pay off. Flavor is when Lost Hope drove it underground, Kiora forgot the serenity of the surfaced world. Well, it is referencing Kiora. That's cool. Yeah. It's not good. It's not a very good card. Only if you have... I feel like I'm taking crazy pills with this card. Only if you have something that's like untap something that you control and have some payoff. 4 Horde. 2 generic. Tap it to add black mana. Not bad. Black mana rock. Bribes come in 3 varieties. That's the flavor text, and it's not going to tell you what varieties they come in. They're just like 3 varieties of bribes. That's all you need to know. You'll find out eventually. Somebody will offer to bribe you, and then you can count all the ways. There's only 3, by the way. Null Rod. Okay. Not the Null Rod that I remember, but maybe it's better. Maybe it's worse. 2 blue, 3 generic for an enchantment. Tap it to tap target creature. Awaken 4. Is Awaken a Magic the Gathering mechanic? And if so, I don't have a reminder text for it, so I don't actually know. Maybe this is like Suspend? I apologize if Awaken is a mechanic. I'm not aware of it. Could be like Suspend. 2 blue, 2 generic, and then you put it in and then wait 4 turns and it comes in. It's extremely expensive for what it does to just tap down a creature, and you have to tap the enchantment. I would like this card a lot if it was 5 mana, 1 generic mana, tap target creature, so you could tap multiple creatures every turn. Still have to invest the mana, but it could do more, and it would justify its cost. What's the flavor? In your Vani territory, in the center of every village stood the cross. Each time a life was taken in the fighting, another one was offered in its place. The tale of those lives offered for war has passed down from father to son through countless generations. That's a very dark flavor text. Primal Geist. 2 blue, 3 generic. This is a rare. This is an enchantment aura, enchant creature. When Primal Geist enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 5/5. Auras are usually like bad unless they have a lot of value because they open you up to getting 2 for 1 with removal. This is a high cost. It boosts the best case scenario, it boosts like a 1/1 token into a 5/5. But it also does replace itself. So if that thing gets removed, you've already replaced it. It's better than most auras, I think. I wish for that high of a cost it gave some other ability. What if this wasn't an aura? Let's say this is a creature, 5 cost 5/5 that draws a card. We wouldn't be not super impressed with that, right? So this is not. I think I'm rating auras on a curve because most of them are so bad. I think this card's still not good. Flavor text is at its height, Fiora dreamed of flight. It could move across the surface of Bant. When its magic failed, it fled. I guess that's Fiora right there with the hammer. Primal Geist Fiora. Diabolic Aegis. 2 blue, 3 generic for an enchantment or another aura. Enchanted creature has protection from red and blue. This effect doesn't remove Cyclopean Armas or Slithy Sea Monsters. So I'm going to say that has protection from red and blue, and Cyclopean Armas is red, and Slithy Sea Monsters is a blue card that we don't know what they do. But you can't use those cards on Diabolic Aegis or the creature that it is enchanting. So remember that in your Cyclopean Armas deck or your Slithy Sea Monster deck. If you see this Aegis, gotta deal with that creature some other way than those 2 cards. All right. Flavor is you take delight in crushing the soft, squirming life forms that blunder through your grasp. Dark. Enduring License. 2 blue, 3 generic for enchant creature, another aura. When enchanted creature dies, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is its toughness. So this is a 5 mana investment that draws you cards based on a creature's toughness and gaining life. The life gain is something, but the cards is really where you get the advantage here. Nope. I'd rather have a card that I just spend 4 or 5 mana and draw 3 or 4 cards. Even if the payoff is like, I could put this on a 10-10. No, it's just too much. It's too slow. Too much work. What's the flavor text? In each family service was the spirit of duty. In the houses of each house was the weight of command. So their houses were within a house. That's like Inception. Abzan Cluestone. Oh, it's a land. Enters the battlefield. Tap, add blue or black mana. Good for this deck. Tap a blue and a black mana. Abzan Cluestone becomes a 4/4 blue-black wall artifact creature with flying until end of turn. It's still land. So here's a question for you. It's a wall, but it doesn't say it has defender. So traditionally walls would be defenders, but if it doesn't say it has defender, are walls all defenders? Because I don't think they are. And if this can just turn into a 4/4 blue-black artifact creature with flying, this is a fantastic land. This is absolutely nuts as a land. If it's a defender, it's still good because it comes in tapped, tap 2 mana, you have a 4/4 flying defender. But if it can attack, it's awesome. Temple of Flame, land, add colorless mana. 2 generic, tap it. Target creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn. Yeah, that's not bad. It's a little. I wish it cost 1, but it's not bad. Flavor text is the priest did not teach these fire lizards a proper death rite. Let me teach the fire lizards the proper death rite. Priest, leave. Mystery Mine. Tap, add colorless mana. Tap to add green or white. My brain just went offline when I read this. So you can add green or white. I don't know why it's in this deck. I don't know why you would choose to add colorless mana. I guess if the opponent has something for, like, if you add green to your pool, you take a damage or something. Flavor text is ravaged and gone. A thin strip of ruined red bricks marks the former entrance to Mystery Mine. It actually is a good name because it's a mystery as to why it's in this deck. Shoreline Village. Top deck parks? Shoreline or shoreline villages? Shoreline? Boil Brew is going to do what the children say in the traditional ritual of raising your hands to heaven and pointing at your belly. Do what you want to do. Shoreline? I don't think we need to say anything further on that one. I don't know if we can rate that card. It is a land. That's true. If you have something that triggers on the amount of lands that you have, that would do it. Annihilator, land. Tap, add 1 colorless mana. 1 generic mana, tap it. Until the end of turn, all creatures get -1/-1 and can't block. Very good. That's a good card. You tap 1 and then just make all of the opponent's creatures unable to block. It gives your creatures -1/-1 also, but that's very good. Bubbles don't so much die as as burst apart. How true that is. Bubbles don't have life, so they don't really die. They burst apart though. Hell of a lot of times, like almost 100% of the time, bubbles burst apart. Ravaging Wastes. Tap it, add colorless mana. Tap 4 generic, tap it, create a 1/1 colorless rat creature token. That's decent. It's overcosted to make a rat, but, you know, it's not bad. Taunos lurk in every alley, cellar, and rat's nest. And finally, we are down to the lands. Beautiful islands. Beautiful islands. Ooh, that one's gorgeous. And I think that is it for the deck. Awesome swamps. Look at that. That's a full art swamp. That is awesome. Oh yeah, and then it hasn't made the rest of the lands, but that is it. So, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know your favorite card in the comments. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. Thanks for subscribing, and thank you for watching. If you find this content enjoyable, I appreciate you letting me know. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you want to see some more decks of different colors, and share with anybody that likes Magic the Gathering. Until next time, have a good day.